What if, in our lifetime, we witness the unthinkable, World War III? How would it shape the future of humanity? This is not a question to be taken lightly, nor is it a topic to be approached with casual speculation. It's a grim contemplation that brings with it a profound sense of unease. Yet it's a query that, given the unpredictability of our world, warrants serious thought. In this discourse, we venture into the realm of the hypothetical, exploring the concept of a potential Third World War and the profound impact it could have on our shared humanity. We'll be looking at the intricate web of reasons that could spark such a catastrophic event, from escalating international tensions to the struggle for resources and power. Imagine a world where the familiar humdrum of daily life is shattered by the cacophony of warfare. A world where the future is uncertain, and the present, a struggle for survival. The very thought is enough to send shivers down the spine. We'll be shedding light on various aspects of this dark scenario, the historical context that colors our understanding, the potential fallout that could dramatically reshape societies, the humanitarian impact that could alter the very essence of our species. We'll also be discussing the economic and environmental consequences that could ripple out far beyond the immediate aftermath of the war. But it's not all doom and gloom. We'll also be exploring preventive measures, initiatives for peace, and the lessons we can learn from our past to avoid repeating the same mistakes. For while the threat of war is a reality we cannot ignore, neither is the enduring capacity of humanity to strive for peace. It's a grim thought indeed, but to understand the consequences, we need to delve into history. Let's turn back the clock and step into the past, to the times of the first two world wars. It is there we begin our journey, in the hope of understanding what a Third World War could mean for the world, and more importantly, how we can work together to prevent it. World Wars I and II were two of the darkest periods in human history, causing unimaginable destruction and loss of life. To understand the potential horrors of a Third World War, we need to step back in time and look at the shadows cast by the first two global conflicts. The First World War, often called the Great War, erupted in the summer of 1914. Nationalism, militarism, and a complex web of alliances set the stage for a war that would span 4 years and take the lives of over 17 million people. But the devastation didn't stop with the cessation of gunfire. The war left a profound impact on the global socio-political landscape, leading to the rise of totalitarian regimes in Europe and setting the stage for the Second World War. World War II, born out of the ashes of the first, was even more catastrophic. It began in 1939 and lasted 6 long years. This war was a result of ideological differences, territorial disputes, and the unhealed wounds of the previous conflict. It was a war that showed the world the darkest sides of humanity, from the horrors of the Holocaust to the devastating bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The aftermath of World War II was a world forever changed. Over 70 million lives were lost, cities lay in ruins, economies crumbled, and the geopolitical map was redrawn. The creation of the United Nations was a response to these atrocities, an attempt to maintain international peace and prevent a recurrence of such devastating conflicts. These two wars altered the course of human history. They brought about changes in the world order, triggered technological advancements, and created a new political landscape. But they also left deep scars on humanity, scars that serve as a grim reminder of the enormous human cost of global conflict. The history of world wars serves as a stark reminder of the devastation that a global conflict can bring. It's a history we must never forget, for it is only by remembering the past that we can hope to prevent the same mistakes in the future. With advancements in technology and weaponry since the last World War, one can only imagine the horror of a potential World War III. Picture this: a world where the loss of human life is beyond comprehension. Entire cities reduced to rubble, infrastructure decimated, and millions of people displaced from their homes. This is the grim reality we may face if World War III were to break out. The two previous world wars were devastating, but they were fought with the technology of their time. Today, the weapons at the disposal of nations are far more destructive. The most terrifying prospect of all is the potential use of nuclear weapons. Nuclear warfare is not just about the immediate destruction caused by the explosion, it's the long-term effects that are truly horrifying. A single nuclear detonation can obliterate an entire city, but the radioactive fallout can contaminate large areas, making them uninhabitable for centuries. Moreover, the health effects of radiation exposure are devastating. It can cause immediate sickness and death and increase the risk of cancer among survivors. And let's not forget the potential for a nuclear winter where soot and dust from nuclear explosions block out the sun, causing a drastic drop in temperatures around the world. This could lead to crop failures and mass starvation. The human cost of World War III would be unimaginable. The death toll could reach into the hundreds of millions, if not billions. The physical destruction would be catastrophic, but the psychological impact would be equally devastating. The trauma of such a conflict could linger for generations, and then there's the displacement of people. Millions, possibly billions of people would be forced to leave their homes, becoming refugees. This would lead to a massive humanitarian crisis, with countries struggling to accommodate and care for these displaced individuals. We must also consider the potential for an escalation of violence and the possible breakdown of societal norms. In such a scenario, the rule of law could collapse, leading to a state of anarchy. As bleak as it sounds, the possibility of such a war is not entirely unthinkable. The human cost of a potential World War III is unimaginable. In the grim shadow of such a war, the humanitarian crisis that would unfold is beyond anything we've ever experienced. It's not just about the immediate loss of life in the conflict zones. It's about the ripple effects that would spread far and wide, touching every corner of our planet. Starvation would likely be the first major consequence. With the world's supply chains disrupted, getting food to those who need it would become incredibly challenging. The fields that once flourished with crops might lie fallow and barren, destroyed by the devastation of war, or left untended due to the loss of farmers. Hunger would become a constant, gnawing companion for millions, if not billions of people. Then, there's the threat of disease. With infrastructure shattered and healthcare systems overwhelmed, even the most basic medical care could be out of reach for many. Diseases that we've long had under control could rear their ugly heads again, claiming lives that the war itself did not touch. And let's not forget the massive refugee crisis that would ensue. People would be forced to flee their homes, their cities, even their countries, seeking safety wherever they could find it. The world would see a migration of people on a scale never seen before, leading to overcrowded refugee camps and strained resources in host countries. Beyond the physical hardships, the psychological impact on survivors would be profound. The trauma of war, of losing loved ones, of living in constant fear and uncertainty, it leaves scars that don't heal easily. It affects not just the individuals who experience it, but also the generations that follow. The human cost of a potential World War III extends beyond the battlefield. It reaches into every home, every community, every nation, and the recovery, if it's even possible, would take decades, if not centuries. The toll on humanity would be catastrophic, to say the least. A potential World War III would not just be a disaster for humanity, but for the entire planet. Let's dive into the economic fallout that such a war could bring. Picture this, a global recession unlike anything we've seen before. The interconnected nature of our modern economy means that a conflict of this magnitude would send shockwaves through every sector, every industry, every job. Markets would plunge into chaos as uncertainty reigns, leading to massive job losses and economic instability on an unprecedented scale. Now imagine the cost of war. The trillions of dollars that would be spent on armaments, on defense, on rebuilding. Money that could be invested in education, in healthcare, and innovation, instead funneled into a black hole of destruction. But the economic fallout is just one side of the coin. Let's flip it over and examine the environmental impact. A war of this magnitude could potentially involve nuclear weapons, leading to a nuclear winter. This is a period of abnormal cold and darkness predicted to follow a large-scale nuclear war, caused by the firestorms throwing soot into the upper stratosphere and blocking sunlight. The effects on agriculture would be devastating, leading to mass starvation. Beyond nuclear winter, the pollution caused by war is immense. Oceans, rivers, and land contaminated by chemical and radioactive substances, destroying ecosystems, wiping out species, and making large areas uninhabitable for centuries. The scars left on our planet would be deep and lasting, a grim reminder of our capacity for destruction. And then there's the destruction of our natural resources: forests burned, minerals extracted for war efforts, wildlife habitats destroyed. The loss would be immeasurable. The recovery, if at all possible, would take centuries. The economic and environmental consequences of a potential World War III are staggering. The cost, in terms of human lives, economic stability, and environmental health, is too high. The economic and environmental consequences alone should be enough to deter any such conflict. While the prospect of World War III is terrifying, there are ways to prevent it. We find ourselves standing on the precipice of a potential global catastrophe, but we also hold the power to step back from the ledge. Our primary weapon in this fight is not a missile or a tank, but diplomacy. Diplomacy is the art of negotiation, of finding common ground and building bridges where there were once walls. It is the process of listening and understanding, of compromise and mutual respect. And it's not just about the leaders of nations sitting around a table, it's about individuals, everyday people like you and me, reaching out across cultural and geographical divides to understand and empathize with one another. But diplomacy alone is not enough. It must be supported by robust international cooperation. In a world that is more interconnected than ever before, it is vital that we work together to address the global challenges we face. This means sharing resources, knowledge, and expertise. It means standing together in the face of adversity rather than turning against one another. And let's not forget about peace initiatives. These are programs and strategies designed to promote peace and prevent conflict. They can be as simple as education programs that teach children about different cultures and the value of diversity, or as complex as international treaties and agreements that regulate the use of military force. The role of international organizations like the United Nations is also crucial in preventing global conflicts. These bodies provide a platform for dialogue and negotiation, fostering a sense of global community and shared responsibility. They work tirelessly to uphold international law and protect human rights, striving to create a world where war is not just unthinkable but impossible. The key to preventing World War III lies in our collective will to choose peace over conflict. The choice is ours to make. Let's choose wisely for the sake of our planet and future generations. Let's choose peace. World War III is a prospect too horrifying to contemplate, but contemplating it might be our best defense against it. As we've journeyed through this discussion, we've seen the vast spectrum of potential effects a third world war could have on our world. From the ghosts of past conflicts, we've learned the unimaginable human cost and the devastating environmental and economic fallout. We've delved into the chilling scenarios of a potential World War III and how it might play out in our modern, interconnected world. We've seen the potential for destruction on a scale never before witnessed in human history. The humanitarian impact is heart-wrenching to even consider, with millions of lives at stake, displaced people, and an unimaginable crisis in global health and welfare. We've also examined the economic and environmental consequences. The global economy could be plunged into a crisis far surpassing any depression or recession we've known. Our environment, already strained under the weight of climate change and pollution, could be pushed to the brink of collapse. But we've also discussed preventive measures, the crucial steps we can take now to ensure this grim future never comes to pass. Learning from history, understanding the causes and consequences of past wars can guide us in creating a future of peace. We can promote dialogue, diplomacy, and cooperation, fostering understanding and respect among nations. We can work towards a world where disputes are resolved not with weapons, but with words, where power is measured not in military might, but in the strength of a nation's commitment to peace, justice, and the well-being of all its citizens. Let's remember, the future is not set in stone. We have the power to shape it. The prospect of World War III serves as a stark reminder of the path we must avoid. For the sake of humanity, let's hope World War III remains a topic for speculative discussions and never becomes a reality.